Okay, so a few days ago, something happened that made me stop scrolling completely. Ilia Malinin, the reigning three-time world champion figure skater, the guy they call Quad God because he's the only human being on this planet who has ever landed a quadruple axel in competition, showed up on the gold carpet at the FIFA World Cup final, Spain versus Argentina. A brand new stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, packed with soccer fans who, statistically, have probably never once tuned into a figure skating broadcast in their entire lives. And here's the detail that makes it even stranger. It was literally his first soccer game ever. Not his first World Cup, not his first final, his first soccer game, period. He said so himself, standing there in front of cameras that don't usually care what a figure skater thinks about anything. Now, on the surface, that's just a fun little celebrity sighting moment, the kind of thing that gets a 15-second clip and then disappears. But I don't think it disappears this time, because over the last few months, something has been quietly shifting with this guy. Ilia Malinin has stopped being just a figure skater and started turning into something closer to a full-on crossover celebrity. Fashion moments that sell out clothing lines, arena tours that sell out cities, crowds that scream like it's a concert, a redemption story with more twists than most sports movies, and now, apparently, a front-row seat next to actual Hollywood royalty. So today, I want to walk through exactly how this happened, piece by piece, starting from where he actually comes from, all the way to that World Cup carpet. And stick with me, because there's a moment near the end of this story, a quiet one, that honestly made me respect him more than any medal ever could. Let's start at the beginning, because I think a lot of people who only know Malinin from headlines have no idea how strange and specific his origin story actually is. He was born in Fairfax, Virginia, the son of two former Olympic figure skaters who are also, and this is the part people forget, his actual coaches to this day. His mother, Tatyana Malinina, was born in Novosibirsk, deep in Siberia, and competed internationally for Uzbekistan rather than Russia. She wasn't some minor figure either. She became the very first four continents champion in the history of that event back in 1999, won the Grand Prix final that same year, and represented Uzbekistan at 10 straight world championships, the first skater from that country to ever medal at an ISU championship. His father, Roman Skornyakov, was born in Sverdlovsk, a Russian industrial city, and competed for Uzbekistan at both the 1998 Nagano Games and the 2002 Salt Lake City Games, winning 7 straight Uzbek national titles along the way. Here's a detail I genuinely didn't expect to find. Malinin's parents gave him his mother's last name instead of his father's, and the reason is almost funny. They thought Skornyakov would be too difficult for Americans to pronounce, so even his name is a small act of planning for a life in a country they hadn't been born in. They moved to the United States with the Uzbekistan national team, chasing something that sounds almost too simple to be the reason two Olympians uprooted their entire lives. According to Malinin's own grandfather, his mother was convinced that in America there was simply more of it, more rinks, more training time, in a way that wasn't as available back home. They settled in Virginia, eventually working as coaches at a rink in Reston. After their own longtime coach passed away, they essentially became each other's coaches, and then, years later, their sons. In March 2025, Tatyana and Roman actually won the Best Coach Award at the ISU Figure Skating Awards, a full-circle moment neither of them saw coming. Tatyana said afterward that with so many nominees on the list, winning felt like a genuine surprise, a victory that mattered more because of how many other great coaches they were up against. So this is a kid who was raised inside the sport, quite literally coached from age 6 by people who had competed at the exact level he now dominates. He trains 4 to 6 hours a day at their home rink, and reportedly, as a little kid, he actually preferred soccer to skating, which makes that World Cup appearance feel less like a random celebrity outing and a little more like some strange, quiet, full-circle moment nobody planned for. There's also a specific athletic detail that connects directly to his nickname, and honestly, it might be the single wildest technical story in the sport right now, so let's actually sit with it for a second instead of rushing past it. Backflips were banned in competitive figure skating for almost 50 years, not frowned upon, banned. It started in 1976 when American skater Terry Kubica became the first person to land one at the Innsbruck Olympics. The ISU looked at that and decided the move was too dangerous and outlawed it entirely. For over 2 decades, nobody touched it. Then, in 1998, French skater Surya Bonali did something almost defiant. She landed a backflip on a single blade at the Nagano Olympics, fully aware it was illegal, fully aware she'd lose points for it. She did it anyway. And then the move basically vanished again for another 25 years. It came back briefly in 2024 when another French skater, Adam Xiao Him Fa, landed one at the World Championships in Montreal and still won bronze, even with a mandatory deduction. In a strange little twist of fate, Kubica, the very first person ever penalized for this move back in 1976, was sitting on the technical panel that docked Xiao Him Fa's score that day. Later that same year, the ISU finally reversed curse completely and struck the backflip from its list of illegal elements, ruling that a move this spectacular no longer made sense to ban. And here's the part that ties directly back to Malinin. He'd actually learned to backflip years earlier as a child gymnast, long before it was ever legal on ice. There are text messages that later surfaced, exchanges with an Australian parkour athlete named Dominic Di Tommaso, dating back to January 2024, where Malinin openly admitted he was struggling to land the move on skates. Di Tommaso encouraged him, telling him it would only take a couple of seconds of focus and bravery. By July of that same year, Malinin texted back that he'd finally cracked it. 2 months later, he landed it in competition for the very first time. So when he performed it at the Milano Cortina Olympics, not once, but in both the team event and later at the Olympic closing exhibition gala, he wasn't just doing a cool trick for the crowd. He was becoming the first person in 5 decades to legally land a backflip at the Winter Olympics. And the crowd reaction wasn't subtle. Reports described the arena roaring so loudly that Malinin himself said it felt almost out of control, like the audience had lost it completely. Novak Djokovic, yes, that Novak Djokovic, was reportedly in the stands watching it happen live. And at the closing gala specifically, when Malinin landed it in front of that crowd, he reportedly became visibly emotional as the arena erupted around him. Think about that for a second. A move that was illegal for almost the entirety of his parents' competitive careers. A move his own mother and father were never legally allowed to attempt. And his son ends up being the one who brings it back from the dead in front of the entire world. That's the foundation. Now let's talk about how that foundation turned into an actual crossover celebrity moment, because the backflip was really just the opening act. Let's jump forward to the World Cup appearance itself, since it's the freshest thing, and honestly the most random feeling one if you don't have any context for it. July 19th, 2026, the FIFA World Cup Final, Spain versus Argentina, a brand new stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, just outside New York City. Malinin was photographed on the gold carpet before kickoff, standing in the same lineup of arrivals as actual movie stars, and USA Today caught up with him for a quick interview right there on the spot. He told them plainly that this was the first soccer game he had ever attended in his life.
When asked what he was most looking forward to, he didn't talk tactics or players. He talked about the environment, the camaraderie between two of the best national teams either country has ever fielded, the way the crowds were going to lose their minds regardless of who won. And when asked what he hoped people would take away from watching him experience something completely new, he said something that I think actually sums up his entire current era. He just wants people to enjoy the beauty of it, the craft of it, whether that's soccer or, by extension, the sport he spent his whole life inside of. Here's why I think this appearance matters more than it looks on the surface. Olympic athletes, especially ones fresh off their own competitive season, are usually locked into an extremely tight bubble. Training blocks, competition circuits, sponsor obligations tied directly to their own sport. The fact that Malinin is out at a World Cup final purely as a spectator, being photographed for entertainment and lifestyle coverage instead of sports coverage, that's a completely different category of visibility. That's the kind of appearance you'd normally expect from a musician or an actor, not a competitive figure skater in the middle of his off-season. And it puts him, at least